Hello and welcome back to your Saturday morning What the Falk podcast as we run over a game that I'm still not quite sure I'm over myself, if I'm completely honest with you. All in all, a 0-0 draw at Burnley is a point we'd likely have taken at the start, but in the way in which it came was something we probably have to discuss it this morning to try and make a little bit of sense of it. Thankfully, I can't make much sense of it at the moment, so I've roped in three excellent guests. First and foremost, I will go with Pete, the sensible one of us all. You all right?
The sensible one thing. I don't know where this is coming from. Do you know what? I am all right, mate. Thanks very much. How's yourself? I
Right, mate.
was, yeah, I know. So am I really, but I'm trying to gloss over it. Yeah, look, would have taken a point. We'll go through all the ins and outs. Yeah, it is what it is. Point away from home at Burnley, but nah. There's things we're unhappy about, but we'll get there.
Just if anyone is already thinking, oh no, this is going to be an awful listen or cathartic listen, I did once get a coach down to Gillingham to see us lose in the last minute, which I always refer back to. Got up at 5 in the morning. We set off a flare when Charlie White scored a disallowed offside goal. So it could be worse. Let's go with that one. Things could be
Yeah,
worse,
yeah,
Pete.
that's a fair point. Fair point.
Dave, you're not as sensible as Pete, but then who am I to speak? How you doing, mate? You all right?
I thought you were just going to say, who is as sensible as Pete? Very good question. Very good
Mm,
question.
mm.
I'm okay. I've just done the thing, haven't I? Sorry, but yeah. So I last minute got lumbered into a car, ended up at Burnley, and then ended up back at 2 o'clock this morning. Seeing things from the side of the football pitch wasn't much better than seeing it on TV. I wouldn't have thought. I knew as soon as the second penalty came around and Wilson picked up the ball again, I knew exactly what was happening. It's just one of them. But onwards, upwards, we're still going to win the league with 100 points and 100 goals. Happy
Mm,
days.
okay. Yeah, we are. No, we are. That's what I meant. That's what I meant. Okay, so, and last but not least, we have a new guest. Hopefully the most sensible of us all, because we can't get much less sensible. But Sophie Bellwood. Sophie, you were there last night, so I imagine you got home a bit late, but how are you doing? You all right?
Hiya, yeah, I'm good, thank you. Hope everyone else is all right. Definitely not the strangest thing, but one of the most frustrating. But it's one of them. I think it's important to look at it as a point gained on the road rather than 2 points that we could have had. But, it's one of them.
Yeah, that's the title of the podcast, isn't it? We've all said it. It's one of them. Just kind of has to be. Dave, I'll come back to you because Pete looks too sad, to be honest. You and Sophie, like I say, were there last night. I didn't know this, Dave, actually, but Dave, how was the reaction in the crowd? Because look, it's not going to shock anyone that I absolutely lost my head on social media last night because of people losing their head on social media, and I've just realised it's a massive cesspit at some points, especially because like lots of us can't handle our anger. But I'll ask you first, Dave, and then on to Sophie. But how was the reaction within the crowd? Because look, when you're there and you're in the moment, it's probably quite easy to be reactive. But it felt like the fans really got behind Wilson at the end there a little bit, Dave.
The crowd reaction was spectacular, to be fair. Plenty of chanting, plenty of cheering, because I was sat next to Jordan North, and that's not the thing that I needed in my ear,
Oh no.
shouting James, because I was in the Burnley hospitality. So, yeah, didn't need it in my life whatsoever. Didn't need Jordan North screaming in my ear about how much he loves James Trafford, along with his three brothers. So, not my greatest evening ever, if I'm honest with you.
So is it a case of two from a happy place? Happy place is definitely not Dave's
It was
happy place.
it was definitely his happy place last night. He thoroughly enjoyed himself. I had a sinking fit. My initial feeling going into the 78th minute was we're going to get beat 1-0 here. And I just had a feeling that something bad was going to happen. I suppose the bad thing happening, missing two penalties and not losing the game, isn't the worst thing in the world ever, if we're honest. That's the summary of it, isn't it? We went first half, we were a little bit minging. Second half, we went toe to toe. And it's one of those moments for Wilson, isn't it? He either it's hero or zero, However, I think there's certain people that would crumble after this. We've probably had plenty of them, and I don't think Wilson is. I think if Wilson normally gives 110%, which we can clearly see that he does on a weekly basis or a game-by-game basis, I think he's suddenly going to give 130%. So fair play at the lad for the message that he came out with. The professional footballers, they put themselves on the spot. I'll just get that one on there. Get that one in there. And yeah, it'll be a minority. It's what we always say in instances like this. It'll be a minority who's giving him the flack and who's giving him the grief and the vitriol. Because let's be honest, it's not just flack and grief. It's pure vitriol. So he'll bounce back. I've no doubt he will. Sunderland are going to go on a 10-game winning streak. We'll be top of the league in 6 weeks' time. Happy days. There's nothing to worry about, man.
The thing is, there'll be people listening to this going, "Oh God, I don't know if I can put myself through this at the moment." But these kind of podcasts always go progressively more positive and like verge on the surreal, complete overconfidence by the end of it. So stick with us and we'll get there. Sophie, you were in the Sunderland end. Look, I handed my head down on a pub, like literally headbutting the lats, if I'm completely honest with you, when he missed that penalty. So I didn't see too much outside of, I think, Lyle Foster, like consoling him and stuff. But I did see a little bit of the fans afterwards on Twitter and stuff like that. It felt like naturally there's lots of frustration in there, but it felt like everyone got behind the team and it was definitely a different reaction to maybe what we've seen a little bit in a minority on Twitter. How was the reaction, Sophie?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, when he missed that second penalty, of course, everyone was, I mean, I had seas of people in front of me. It was hands in heads. It was total disbelief. I myself was in disbelief. And of course, you're frustrated because you think, God, we could have nicked that. We could have nicked 3 points from arguably one of the best teams in the league. You know, you look at the players that they've got. But when that full-time whistle went, you could say, Wilson, he just hit the deck. But everyone, you know, there was loads of people in front of me, like almost gesturing to Wilson to come over. We're not, look, it's a lottery. It's all about down to luck. And you miss them, you score them. You know, it's a game in fine margins. But we were singing his name, and you know, you had your Dan Neil who was pointing towards him, as almost saying, like, come on, let's kind of wrap our arms around him, embrace him. You know, he has been good and he gives 110% every game. You can see how much he cares and how much he wants to be successful. You know, it's just one of those where of course it's frustrating, but blaming someone, it's not gonna change the outcome of the game. You know, be proud of the lads. It was a good shift. It was a good team performance. Everyone played the part, and it just came down to something silly like a missed penalty.
Yeah, it happens. And I know there's discussion around should he have taken the pen and should he have not? And in my head, I'm going, oh yeah, it should have been given to Joe because I think Joe picked the ball up. But like, isn't hindsight wonderful? Like, I mean, I know Pete's the oldest one here. Pete's very old. So with Pete, he'll definitely remember this. 1995, we played Crystal Palace away. We won 1-0. David Kelly scored. We missed 2 penalties. I think Martin Scott, one of the best penalty takers in the business, especially in a Sunderland shirt, scored. And then Paul Bracewell stepped up, a magnificent footballer, played for England. He missed a penalty. We went on to win the league that season. I think you look at another instance, Pete, for when you would have been maybe in your 40s potentially at this point, because now you're 60, 70. But you're looking at the game against Burnley, ironically enough, where David Connolly stepped up to take a massive pressure penalty, 2 games on the end of the season that could really bank on us getting automatic promotion. He misses the first one. Suddenly Burnley go 2-1 up with an absolute screamer from, I can't remember the lad's name, Wade Elliott, I think he was called. And you're thinking, oh God, and everyone remembers the Collis Edwards moment because naturally it was absolutely class. But Connolly stepped up and bagged the second to get us back in the game, as most people will remember, of a certain vintage, which makes me feel really old actually, because it wasn't that long ago, if I'm being completely honest. But Connolly got so much praise for stepping up and taking that other penalty. He got so much praise for having the balls to do it, you know, for want of a better phrase. Wilson had lots of balls to step up and take it. Was it sensible? I don't know. I think the minute in the game it was. The fact that Trafford clearly is a good penalty saver, clearly knew what he was doing. And look, I know a lot of people are angry at James Trafford. I'm not. If that was on the other side, I'm saying fair play, like high five, well done, kid. I seen him do for England at 21, and I was desperate for him to to save the penalty, and he did, and we won the Euros, the under-21 Euros, and I was happy then. So I'm not gonna chastise him now, the little shit. He's ruined my weekend, but here we are. But I think there's a lot of people saying Wilson shouldn't have took it, and I think hindsight's really lovely, Pete. I kind of agree in hindsight. I'm thinking, oh, Job steps up and takes it, and he puts it down the middle, and he does this perfect thing. And you could say Dan Neil maybe grabs the ball off Wilson and says, look, if you miss 2 penalties, you're going to feel awful. If the other lad who takes it, Job, whoever it may be, misses the other one, we've got 2 lads we need to put our arms around, but, we'll all support each other. Don't you be the guy that misses the second one. But, look, you're not going to go up to your striker and be like, I'm a bit worried you might miss this, by the way, Wilson. If he says, I'm going to take it, then fine. He takes it. And if he puts it in the same place and James Trafford second guesses and goes the other way, you go, oh, brilliant. He totally outplayed him there, and he did the right thing going in the same corner. As it was, James Trafford saved it. I don't think either of them were necessarily good penalties. But I think it's difficult to maybe... It's not difficult to criticise Wilson for taking the second penalty. But at the same token, it is, Pete, I think, because we've seen the likes of David Connolly do it, score it, and you praise him for the massive balls that he has. That hits the post and goes in the opposite corner. Trafford guesses the wrong way, and you're going, oh my God, Wilson's got such big balls. What a great player. It's just, as Sophie said, it's a bit of a lottery in it, a penalty, unfortunately.
I think I'll start off by saying there's no question on the size of Wilson's balls from the Berlin branch of the What the Falk podcast. I think the man's got huge stones on him to be able to take that ball and do that. But should he have done it? No. But in the moment, absolutely yes. I was all for him taking the ball. At the time, I admit I'm wrong. He shouldn't have done. You're right. If you think about it in the cold light of day, somebody who doesn't have that weighing on him, who hasn't had the chance hit the post earlier, just somebody else. Even you mentioned Job. Of course, Job would be an excellent option to take it, but Enzo Lefebvre looks like he can strike one. What a chance that would have been. I mean, I think it might be a bit much to put the kid straight into go and take this to win this biggest game.
That's the thing, though. There's risk with everything. There's risk with all of it. I mean, me and Sophie said before, it is a lottery. I suppose the only thing that makes it not a lottery is maybe the mental aspect of it. And I suppose you could say there's a mental aspect of it with Wilson taking a second penalty in, the 97th minute. So maybe there's a bit...
It felt like Trafford had him. It felt like Trafford had him. He had the mental spell on him. And that's a different thing to...
Do you not find it annoying, though, that Trafford looks like Thogden?
Yeah.
That gets to me quite a bit, that. And I don't want to hate on anyone because this is going to be all positive, don't hate on people podcast. But
yeah,
if I'm going to hate on anyone, it's going to be those lookalike twins that apparently aren't related.
Right. Yeah. And look, if Trafford played for Sunderland, we would absolutely love him. We were chatting about this earlier on. You said already, he did his job. He did what he's supposed to do, which is get inside the head of the striker in that situation or the penalty taker and make sure they miss. And Wilson hit 2. And do you know what? Wilson did hit 2 very bad penalties. He played some wonderful football last night. And I think the chances of him getting on the end of one of those Enzo Lefebvre passes in the future is, we've got something on our hands there. But those weren't great penalties. They won't be the hardest penalties Trafford will save. Brings us on to how do you react to that? We've touched on it a little bit, how it was reacted on in the crowd. It was reacted on disgracefully online, on social media.
Not everyone, to be fair. So
not everybody. All right, not everybody, but some of the stuff that I saw. I mean, I went to bed after it. I saw Wilson come off the pitch.
The stuff that was bad, Pete, I think the stuff that was bad was particularly bad. That's what I would say.
I'll give you that.
That 20% was right. Minging.
Yeah. And so I watched Wilson come off. I said, I've never seen saying to my wife, I said, look, I've never seen a footballer come off the pitch looking like that. The lad looked distraught. Fair play to the lad from, is it Foster from Burnley, who goes over to him. Love the team spirit, everything like that. You've got Mepham and Blondie, You find out what players like Blondie and Leo Hjelde do, the ones that we reckon are just mostly there for vibes.
The vibes guys.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the position I want, and that's what I have in this podcast, isn't it, really? I'm just mostly vibes. It's mostly depressed at the minute, but never mind.
I was going to say, bringing it down, Pete. That's the...
Exactly. I want to be the vibes guy. I want to be our Blondie or our Leo Hjelde. No, I think that was great to see that, but Yeah, I'm really glad of the reaction he got from the fans inside the stadium. I know fine well he won't pay attention to any of the bullshit that he'd been sent online because you can't. But for me, as a Sunderland fan, watching it, and some of it not coming from Sunderland fans, but some of it that did come from Sunderland fans was particularly bothersome to me. But never mind. I've got a feeling whoever is in goal for Derby these days, or whoever plays centre half for Derby, must be absolutely cacking themselves about Tuesday night. Because if ever anybody wants to score at home, it's going to be Wilson Isidore. And yeah, good luck to him. Got no doubt that the lad will bounce back. I just thought it was pretty unsavory, some of the reaction to him. But yeah, onwards and upwards. And I think we have to at some point, Graham, just to tell you what questions you've got to ask, touch on some of the positives from last night, because there was rather a few, particularly in the second half.
There's plenty, and Dave, I don't know how you felt, but I turned around to Ashley last night and I went, you know what, I should love watching Sunderland play. Bearing in mind it was before the penalties, but I said, I love watching us play. I think we're a really good team, and I do feel like we're one of the better sides in this league. I think both times we played Burnley, in my opinion, I'm sure Burnley fans will disagree with me at some point, but I felt we were the better side in both games. I've had a Sheffield United fan on this show who's told me we were the better side in both games as well. We spoke afterwards after 2-1 game. I don't think there's any debate on that. And I don't think Burnley and Sheffield United are horrendous teams. They're good sides. There's a reason they're above us at the minute. We've got a couple of games like Coventry at home, which was particularly galling, which if you win that game, you're level on points with them. I personally think we're one of the better sides in this league, and I think we're showing it against those teams. We've got Leeds away. That's a rough game. I think Borough away is a rough game. But we've shown consistently that when we have a bad result, we can bounce back. We've shown consistently that when we play good teams that people think are going to wipe the floor with us, they don't. It's stupid little results like Stoke away and Coventry and all that kind of stuff, Dave. But look, if we're looking at the positives, Dave, we played well last night. There's a lot of positives to take from it. And if the game doesn't end the way it ends, you're probably just going, good point. Could have, should have won. I mean, you're still thinking that because of the penalties, but I thought we played well last night. And I think going to Burnley where they haven't conceded a goal for I don't know how long the squad has conceded 4 at home all season. They're unbeaten at home. And we're leaving gutted that we haven't won. That, you don't want to say it because we didn't, but you've got to see that as a positive. And that comes from the performance we had, Dave, doesn't it?
Massively, and the way it's been all season as well. You've got to remember that this is a squad of players who are very inexperienced, and they're going to learn from that. But also, while they're learning, they just so happen to be one of the top 4 sides in the division. Can we just say that the other 3 sides that are in that bracket have all got parachute payments, have all got Premier League experience from last year, and should be light years ahead of us, and they're not. So that's where the balance comes into it. They've got so much to learn. Chris Rigg has just passed his driving test, and he's had 50 professional games for Sunderland. I mean, what's that? What is that? It's mental. And if you can't be proud of this team after some of the dross that we've encountered over the years, you might as well. Football's just not for you. And Sunderland Football Club is not for you. And I know that's a really, really big opinion and a big, bold statement.
No, I agree.
And people might not like us because I'm being so narrow-minded, but that's my opinion on it. And my opinion is, if you can't get involved in the spirit of this football club at the minute, it's just not for you. Go and watch curling because it's easier. Do you know what I mean? It's never easy. We don't do things the easy way at Sunderland Football Club. And that's why when you hear chants of we're by far the greatest team the world has ever seen and the best fans and the loyalist fans, that's what they mean. And I've gone off on a bit of a tangent. I'm going to put this in to fit me narrative because I absolutely disagree with it and hate it. Burnley haven't conceded 2 goals in a game all season. They still haven't. They probably could have and should have. They haven't. Our XG last night was 2.9. Mm-hmm. Now, I hate XG. I absolutely despise it. But that second half, we've probably had 5 clear-cut chances. And on a different day, that block, by the way, from Humphreys, is phenomenal.
Shouldn't have been on the pitch though, because like the first one isn't a penalty. It isn't. Like, it's outside the box. It isn't a penalty. I don't know why they're having to go at Wilson for cheating, because like he still gets fouled, and when you get tripped, you tend to fall over. If the ref then gives a penalty, then that's on the ref. And if it was Sunderland, I'd be going mad about it. But we've talked about refs till we're blue in the face on this. They're obviously not fit for purpose. But if it's not a penalty, it's a red card. So he's not on the pitch to make the block. So what I'm trying to say is here, yes, it was a very good block, Dave, but it's really annoying that he was on the pitch to do it, wasn't it? That was annoying from our perspective.
It's one of those within the footballing world that they'll tell you that my end has hit it too cleanly. The one time you want him to scuff it and come off his bunion, it just hasn't happened, and it's clean as you like, and it's an unbelievable block. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
The chance for Wilson from Lafay out on the left-hand side, I mean, he should be hitting the target, granted, but it's the outside of the post, fine margins again, as Sophie's alluded to. That's what it is. It's fine margins. However, my worry was if we get beat yesterday, we start pulling away. It's frustrating that we haven't won, but we're still right in there.
Absolutely.
And we've probably got, arguably, the slightly easier running. And nobody wants to play Sunderland. Absolutely no. Let's just bear that in mind. We're a very good footballing team. I said that at the beginning of the season, we didn't have the squad depth and stuff like that. And we've survived God knows how many injuries and suspensions this year. I've done the lads an injustice. Anyone who stepped up has took it with aplomb and carried on the good work of the person before him, and it's brilliant. It's one of them. Referee, by the way, he was minging because in the first half, I think Cirque in the first couple of minutes, both fullbacks, to be fair, for a little bit of balance, were terrible in the first half. Like really minging. I'm not sure whether Cirque got better second half. I'm not sure Try got much better.
You can never say Cirque's minging though. Like, he's gorgeous.
He's a good looking fella.
He's never minging.
Proper H&M model.
Yeah.
So yeah, the referee had a stinker. There's a first half, a couple of decisions for Burnley. Brad pointed out yesterday. Was it Job in the middle of the park who went down injured? 90 seconds later, they've got a clear-cut chance because he hasn't blown. Where has he blown up for Connor Roberts out in the right wing, even though you could have rolled him off the pitch for 20 seconds? It's mad. Officials are crap. Sunderland are amazing. Up the Premier League.
And as I said, we would get progressively more positive in this podcast. I do agree, though. Like, I thought we played really well at points. There was bits and pieces I wasn't too fussed with. Yeah, I agree on Cirkin and Hume. I think they're both quality fullbacks, but they were poor. I thought Enzo Lafay had a pretty poor first 15 minutes when he put that cross out of play. I was like, oh no. But I felt we went to a team that very rarely concedes chances. And I mean, you've touched on there. I didn't know about the XG. And again, I'm not a massive stats guy. I don't hate it. But I think it evidences quite a lot of what we saw. I just wish you'd stop saying that the lads always step up and make a difference. Can we stop talking about people stepping up, please? Because it's a touchy subject at the minute, mate. But Sophie, there was one thing we need to discuss, I think. I touched on they had a bit of an iffy first 15 minutes. But after that, thoughts on Enzo Lafay? Because I thought he looked like a different gravy, to be honest.
Oh, he did. He looked amazing. He looked the real deal. Kind of everything that, you know, what you've read in the media and everything like to do with that. But it was just simple things like turning the ball in the middle. And, you know, the Burnley players were almost looking around thinking, where's he gone? Where's he gone? I do think that sometimes when I was watching him, you want in that link-up play, but that just comes with time of playing with Job and but I thought they linked up really well, and particularly on the wing when, you know, you can clearly see he's not a winger, but he's versatile and can play there. I would like him to see him play in the middle, because I think that's where we could really see the best of him. But you've got to trust the manager, and, you know, he knows him better than anyone, I suppose. But that ball he played into Wilson was, I think that was in the second half, or it might have been the end of the first. But wow, it was amazing. You don't see that often in a Sunderland team, or at least I haven't for the past couple of years. But it was amazing to see him play like that.
I thought he was excellent. You're touching on that ball he put through, and I think they put it on slow-mo on the on the Sky Sports commentary, and he kind of gets the ball and he's in a really difficult position. And he somehow manages to turn a very good right back in Connor Roberts, a very experienced right back, absolutely does him for pace, and then makes himself more centred, which is, I think, quite you can quite clearly see he's more centrally placed, or he's used to being more central than he is on the wing. And then the ball through to Wilson. I mean, if Wilson's an inch closer to goal, it's bottom corner, it's a great finish, and you go, oh my God, Enzo Lafay's just like showed exactly what he's all about. But I think you touched on before about being on the wing, the quality we've got in the middle. I thought Job was excellent last night. I thought Riggy was excellent. I thought Dan Neil had a good game. But it would be interesting to see what he's like in the centre, because I don't know if it's different when you watch on the TV, Sophie. I think it just is. I don't know why it's the same game, but I felt when he was getting into like central positions, he looked like he was picking the right pass. He looked like he was a step above. Like, did it come across like that at the match? Because I felt like when he was on the ball, you felt like something was going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt like he was almost floating in between. He was, he was picking the ball up and then he was drifting wide or he was drifting in the middle. And you could see that, players were looking almost to him. When we've had that kind of reliance for, you look at the past couple of years on Jack Clark, because you knew you get the ball to Jack Clark, something magical is going to happen. And you did in League One with Aidan McGeady. And I feel like he could be that sort of player for us where you think, not a reliance, but get the ball to him because something magical is going to happen. And hopefully with time, I mean, I was thinking that we were going to see maybe he's not as good, but maybe that's me being pessimistic and thinking that maybe he can't be that good, but he looks the real deal. He really does.
I did panic when he put that cross straight out of play. Like, I'm not going to lie. I went, oh no, please no. We spent the past week like praising like the next Pele, and he just went and put, oh no. But yeah, I thought he was great. I agree. I think when he got the ball, I felt like things were going to happen. And that was in a position that you could clearly see he wasn't naturally used to, which was like massive. But I think if that, on the evidence of what I've seen in the balls and what he put in yesterday, the passes he made, the spaces he created for himself, and the way he linked with the midfield after one game and a few days training, if that's his level and there's going to be something more coming from that, then I'm excited, which I'm pleased about, because it would be very something for Enzo Lafay to break his leg in the first game or be crap and not be the player that we thought he was. But Pete, I'll come back to you on one thing. I don't want to concentrate on negatives.
No, I've got plenty of positives to talk about.
Well, let's talk about one negative. Chris Mepham going down with what looked like
yeah. I mean, look, let's turn that negative into a positive, because I was quite impressed with Dan Ballard coming on, and what a replacement it is to be able to make that type of substitution at centre half. However, an injury to Chris Mepham, dear me. Do we have any more updates on that? I mean, the last I heard was that it was just being looked. There were nothing's come out at all. You just got to hope it's mild. I mean, look, the fact he's on the pitch walking about at the end gives us a bit of hope that they haven't seen something that they've gone, no, you're getting a boot on, you're getting it strapped up, you're getting something done. So he's clearly walking.
I know it's on staff, because this doesn't kind of indicate whether or not he's injured by him going on Instagram, because it's not his hands, it's his legs.
Well, exactly.
But he was straight on Insta last night, like praising Wilster. He was straight on Instagram last night praising Wilson. But I feel like if he is injured, though, and this is me honest,
he's got bigger things on his mind. He would have bigger things on his mind than to be on Instagram. Yeah,
I'm clutching at straws. Yeah, but like that's the hope, and I just feel like for me, Mepham's up there with the best centre half in the league, if not the best. And I think
he's up there with the best centre halves I've ever seen play for Sunderland.
But you've also got Adji injured now as well, Pete. That's my concern, is that like who plays centre half if Ballard or Nine get an injury now?
Well, they don't. They don't get any injuries from here on out. If it's been decided now, just have to draw a line under that. No, I've got no idea. It starts to get threadbare at a position. I was just trying to find a positive, saying that you've got a great substitute to bring on in Dan Ballard. You've really got to hope there's nothing too wrong with Mepham. Otherwise, it's a big blow to lose Mepham. It's great to be able to replace him with the likes of Dan Ballard, but I would say Mepham, as I said, he's right up there with the best I've ever seen play that position for Sunderland. I'm not as old as Graham points out, by the way.
Yeah.
I am. All right, fair enough. I'll be granddad. It's a worry that Mepham went off injured. We've just got to hope it's not too serious, because then you start looking at who from the 21s can you bring through.
No, you don't. You think I mean, I know he's dead, but Leo Yelder.
Well, there's
But
Leo Hjelde. I mean, but wasn't he a lot better at left back in the game we're not talking about?
but Vibes guy becomes first team player guy if we get another injury. Like I know he's dead, and we discovered he was dead in pre-season, but I'm all for the corpse playing centre half.
The resurrection of Leo Hjelde,
We get the
which
injury at
sounds
Easter, and he comes back to life at Easter.
it sounds like a prog rock band or title, the resurrection of Leo Hjelde. Yeah, okay, look, right, he's there and thereabouts the squad. He comes in. We're not as good a defensive unit without Chris Mepham. There's no getting away from that. Any time Chris Mepham spends out of the team is going to be detrimental to. We've just had a message through suggesting that I may have seen Charlie Hurley play. I did not see Charlie Hurley actually play. Never mind that. Anyway, yeah, it's going to be a worry. It's going to be a worry if Mepham's out for any length of time. I'm confident as long as we can keep Ballard in 09 fit until such a time that Mepham can be considered for selection again.
It's kind of bad that we're more concerned about Mepham's potential muscle injury or hamstring or whatever it may be than Leo Yelder's death, but here we are. Dave, moving away from Leo Yelder's death in pre-season, there's a lot of transfer talk at the minute. I want to talk more about Leo Yelder, but I'm not upgrading to Pro Zoom. I will not do it, so let's move on to transfers. Off the pitch stuff, we've been linked to Friggin, which I friggin' hope he's good.
Of course we have.
And Reese from Preston, who I was at the Preston away game, and he was an absolute handful. He actually was one of the first strikers I've seen completely turn Mepham. So I'm all on board the Reese train, and I'm kind of into the friggin' one as well. Not too sure on 13 million for Cannon, but I don't know whether it's going to happen. Dave, I'll cut the story short and stop rambling on. If you could choose one to sign, who would it be and why?
That's an interesting one. Transfer talk. Yeah, let's go. I guess Reese is the one who's got the little bit of proven quality and makes a little bit sense financially. Let's be honest, the way that this transfer window is going, get all three in. One of them can cover Mepham while he's injured. Happy days.
Yeah, I'll bring this one back to you. I don't know enough about friggin', apart from hoping that he's really friggin' good and not friggin' bad at football, which is just a joke that's never going to end, is it?
No, it's good on for it.
It's big money. The rumours are that it's the Lebris signed off signing, so I think I'm behind it, I guess. Cannon does bring you a bit of proven quality at this level, but I don't think he's worth 13 million, and I'm scarred by us spending big money on absolute cack. That's never really done that well. So I do have that scarring about it with Tom Cannon. So in a really weird way, I think I would probably prefer Reese because he's like a less risky option because of the price, because I think it's 1 or 2 million they're talking about. I was impressed with them down at Preston. That's who I'd probably go with, but I mean, I get told I talk shite all the time anyway, so I'm sure people don't care. But Peter, if you had to choose...
Don't worry, I'll pick up that baton of shite talking from you.
Who would you friggin' go for?
Well, I'm going to say Friggin, and I'm going to say Friggin based purely on
friggin' right,
friggin' too right I am, based on the friggin' confidence I have in Régis Lebris. I think if it's exactly what you said there. As soon as we hear it's a Lebris signed off signing, I don't think that man does anything without putting the utmost forethought into it. Like his press statements after the match yesterday were superb. Says exactly what's needed. I think if he's saying I want him, he wants him for something he's got in his mind. He's got a plan for him. So in Lebris, I trust. I'm going with Friggin. Tom Cannon, yeah, it's a lot of money, but I think that's the going rate these days for strikers at that level. I think Tom Cannon also doesn't benefit in Sunderland fans' minds. I'm just looking a little bit Will Griggy. He just has that kind of there's something about him that just I believe, as the kids say, he gives Will Grigg.
Yes.
If I used that correctly. But yeah, there is a hint of that about him. But yeah, I go Friggin because I trust Reg.
What about if we sign both and just fire up the friggin' promotion cannon.
Just sign them all. I love it. It's like when I used to play Football Manager back when I used to still drink, and I would just I'd wake up in the morning, I haven't looked at my team, and I'd been in a January transfer window at 2 a.m. and just blown through not only this year's but the next 4 years' budget, signing players. Just do it. Go on, death or glory. No, we don't do that. We did that, and we ended up in League One.
Like I say, fire up the friggin' cannon and sign them both. Oh, God, we need to end this podcast, don't we, quickly? Sophie, you're the newest, so you're going to get the final word here. No pressure, but we've talked an awful lot. I know, sorry. But do you know how there's a lot of times this season where we've had a bad result and we've said, look, the result's crap, we can't change it. Or something bad's happened, or we've dropped 2 goals to Coventry at home. And we've talked about the response in the next game. We've got a really quick opportunity to respond with 2 games that are very winnable. First and foremost, we've got Derby away on Tuesday. I don't want to say it's that game taking on an extra significance, but it's a real positive that we can get the end of that game out of our hair a little bit and kick straight on. So, how pivotal could that game be, I guess, in terms of, forgetting what happened at the end of that game and moving on and getting, like I say, firing up the friggin' promotion cannon.
I mean, absolutely. The good thing about this league is it's relentless, and you've got the opportunity to put it right on Tuesday at Derby, and then you've got Tuesday at Derby, and then you've got back on home soil at with Plymouth at the Stadium of Light. You win them games, and you look back at this one, and you say, "Hey, that was a good point." That, it's all relative, I suppose. We've got to go to Derby and do a job, but you do look back and think, that's a good point. That you look at the points that we've taken off the top 6 this season, and that's, I think it's already been said. No one wants to play us because we are a good team. And what I would say, as I put on Twitter last night, chin up and charge the mountain. It's there to be taken. There's no need to panic.
God,
it's weird, isn't it?
Stay, can't she?
Yeah, she's staying. Yeah, she's staying.
Unbelievable.
I was planning to wrap up warm and do nothing today, but now because of that speech, I want to get out and achieve something today.
Fucking come on! Lads, lasses, thanks very much for joining. We'll get over it. We'll be all right.
I'm going to go and find another 5 people to carry Leo Hjelder's coffin.
Oh,
they can't be very tall, I know that.
Poor guy. I mean, he might listen to this and he's going to wonder what we're talking about.
Go back the old episode,
Still loving it.
All questions to Bradley D. Sharp.
Yeah. We'll get the Ouija board out to contact Leo Hjelder's spirit.
Can I just say,
I'll tell you what, it's a cracking name for a new gin, that, isn't it?
Leo Hjelder's spirit. Essence of Ouija board.